Hi everyone. Today's video should be relatively simple, but might take me a little while to explain it because it can be quite complicated. But today we're going to look at recording E-drums, in this case Roland's V-drums, through my Audient ID4 interface into the iPad with Auria Pro. I'm in the middle of doing a cover of Dream Theater's The Mirror, so I figured that if I was going to record the drums with a V-drum kit, which is what I'm going to do, even though I'm going to mix this in the end on a PC or a Mac, I'm going to record all the separate instruments and all the vocals and everything through this Audient ID4 into the iPad, just to prove that you don't need a full studio with you to get the source material. You can then send that off to be mixed, and the capture quality can be as good as at a studio, and you're not paying for studio time. And also, what's something that's helpful, especially with some of the other tracks, not necessarily the drums, is that the iPad makes no noise, it's silent. So I can be in the same room as it, and I can record and track and not have that kind of hiss in the background. So I'll give you a quick clip of me playing the track, and I'll then talk about it. Here we go. Okay, so this is the project in Auria that I've got. Hopefully with the 4K camera I'll be able to zoom in enough that you can see what's going on. The way that I've set this up is a little complicated, but what I've decided to do is send the original track out from Auria to the headphones, which is... I'm gonna get absolutely killed for the copyright on this one, but never mind. So I've got the original track going out to these headphones that I'm wearing, and I'm wearing the headphones so I can hear this. I'm going to have this playing back through the system properly. But what I did is I used pretty much everything that there is to use on this ID4. So the mic input, which I've used the line, and the DI, which, according to Audient's engineering paper, you're not supposed to, but you can use as a secondary input. So I've recorded stereo audio from this Roland TD9 module, which doesn't sound the best, but it'll do. Because what I'm using this for is I'm not going to use this audio at the end. I only recorded this in for reference. And this is where the input and DAW monitor mix comes in, because I could hear through this blend the track coming from Auria and these two inputs going into the same set of headphones with no latency from the Roland module straight through, straight full mix. Now, where it gets interesting, I'll just kind of quickly talk about this at the back. This is a powered USB hub that's plugged into the mains, which is then plugged into the iPad through the Apple USB3 connector. So everything's charged, nothing's losing any battery. And then that's plugged into the ID4, and also this little buddy at the back, this is an M-audio MIDI man, and there are loads of things like this. This is just a USB MIDI box, because the ID4 doesn't have inbuilt MIDI. A lot of Roland drum modules and other brands of drum modules now just have USB MIDI out, which means you can go straight from that, straight into that powered USB hub and straight into the iPad. Job done. But the TD9 is old enough that it doesn't have that, so I've used that. And if I hit a cymbal, if I just reach over it, you can see the little green light flashing, and actually you can hear the cymbal crashing away. So that's how I'm getting the MIDI in, and that's the thing, I'm recording the MIDI from the drum kit on a separate track. So the audio, if I just solo the audio from the drums, that's, I'm not a very good drummer, so this is more of a technical kind of technical demonstration than, hey, look how good I am at playing, because I'm not. But the drums honestly don't sound amazing out of the TD9. I mean, it's a very, very old drum module at this point, but in terms of the triggers, it does exactly what I need it to do, because I've had custom shells made by Joe Becky, and that means that the MIDI notes come in on this channel, which if we expand that out, you can see all of these little notes, every one of those is a drum hit of some kind. And we can see quite a lot of kicks. So what I've done in Auria is I've gone in and made a new MIDI channel, and in the effects window, I've chosen the input to be that input that's plugged in straight from the drums. So that records in, and you can have a virtual instrument in, but I've just set that to nothing. So I'm only saving the MIDI data for use later on. So I'm eventually going to put that either through Superior Drummer or Stephen Slate Drums, or any one of the many alternatives like Get Good Drums or Fredman Drums. But I now have all of that information stored in Auria, and later on I'll be exporting all this out. So I'll just close that. So that is what I'll be using, and I did 3 takes, so I've got 3 layers of MIDI to go through and pick the best takes. So the audio there is just a reference. So that means when I play it back, I know exactly what was hit. I don't actually need this, but it means as I play it back now, if I play the 2 together, this is going to sound pretty bad. But what I can do now is we can reroute this and go the other way. So if I change the MIDI out to MIDI in on the Roland TD9, and change the MIDI in to MIDI out on the MIDI box. So if I go back into the effects for this MIDI and go MIDI out, Midisport A, that should, if I solo this, start coming out on the drum kit. So we can see the light flashing now, and that's going to MIDI in. And if I just make a new track, this is kind of the equivalent of reamping a guitar. Is what we can do is we could go into this MIDI, fix any notes that we don't like. If we change this from notes, yeah, the whole thing is, we can really dive right in there. So we'll do that later on. But if we make a new track, a new stereo track, and then have the input of that be bus 1, 2. I'm actually going to go into the settings now quickly for Auria, because one thing that I did earlier is I turned off record monitor. Oh no, I didn't. Nope, so that's good. So if I hit record on that, we should get, if I hit play, some sort of drum noise very soon. Oh, hello. Oh, that's loud. Let's go back into the mixer. Right. So this is something that's quite useful, because I didn't realise at the time. Ooh. Ah, it's because it's 3 takes overlapped. Right, okay, that's why it sounds awful. But if I was to cut that take and cut that take, and leave us with just a single take of drums and not 3 takes of drums, if I now hit play, what's happening is this MIDI data is coming out of this little box and replaying in the TD9. So if I decide to change the kit, undo, where is undo? Okay, so I'll have to have a look at the MIDI because it doesn't sound exactly fantastic, but the point is proven that I can now resend this MIDI out through the drum module, get different sounds, I can edit the MIDI and kind of reamp it and save it all for later. So if you are a much better drummer than I, this is a great solution that's not particularly expensive, especially if you already had the iPad, that you can use an interface to get the line out so you've got a copy of the drum module sound. So if you've got something like a TD20 or a TD30, Actually, I think the TD20 and 30 already do MIDI, so you can just have a USB MIDI into a hub, straight into the iPad, hit record, job done, and also have the stereo audio so that you've got a copy there, and do all the kind of reamping and tweak the drum sounds and go into your deep dive on your mixer, or keep the MIDI for later use. Hope this has been useful for you, because it's been a bit of an education for me getting to grips with Auria and MIDI. The next video is going to be MIDI keyboards doing a very similar thing and making sure you get the right sound. So say you're using a vintage keyboard like my Yamaha DX7, then that's going to be what's coming up shortly. Thanks for watching. If you found it useful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because we really appreciate that, and consider helping us out on Patreon, because we want to do more videos on a bigger, grander scale, and we're going to need your help for that. So get involved, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video.